the game should turn out to be a pretty good game. Mark Rogers TV on Ohio State, Michigan. The Buckeyes at 11-0. The Wolverines coming in at 8-3. This storied rivalry typically delivers a lot of great storylines, and such is the case in 2012. Urban Meyer makes his debut for the Buckeyes against Michigan, and as a native Ohioan and graduate assistant under Earl Bruce in the 80s, Urban Meyer knows that his legacy in Columbus is going to be built primarily on how he does against the team up north. For Brady Hoke, he's already off to a good start in this rivalry. His Wolverines beat the Buckeyes last season 40-34, Michigan's first win against Ohio State since 2003. So Brady Hoke looking to become the next Jim Tressel in this series. Braxton Miller at quarterback for Ohio State. Braxton Miller looking to win a Heisman Trophy and looking for a Heisman moment against Michigan. For Denard Robinson looking to complete and cap a great career at Michigan. One of the great offensive players in Big Ten history. This is his last regular season game in the maize and blue, and looking to go out big against his arch rival. And for the two teams, what's at stake? For Ohio State, sure, they can't go to a BCS National Championship game. They can't even go to their own conference championship game. But at 11-0, undefeated would sound sweet and get the Buckeyes a slim chance of winning an AP National Championship at 12-0. For Michigan, they're going to arrive at kickoff knowing what they have to do because Nebraska plays on Friday against Iowa. If the Huskers trip up against the Hawkeyes, Michigan can defeat Ohio State and win the division, go to the Big Ten championship game. Let's run down the matchup. We go back to quarterback and Devin Gardner. Finally, Brady Hoke's got a guy at quarterback that he can run his offense with. Devin Gardner can make all the throws. The difference between he and Robinson in the passing game is huge. Devin Gardner, 65% completion percentage, 7 TDs, 3 picks, and you just have to watch him throw the football. He can make all the throws that Denard Robinson cannot. That said, Robinson last week against Iowa lined up at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. He was all over the place, and it was fun to watch. He got the ball in all sorts of different situations, but did not throw a pass. So we're thinking, number one, he's not a good quarterback anyway, passing the football, so Brady Hoke doesn't want him throwing the ball, and maybe still incapable because of the shoulder injury. That said, in all those different looks, Robinson very effective against the Hawkeyes, running for 95 yards. Expect more of that as Brady Hoke gives Urban Meyer a lot to think about. In the running game, you got Thomas Rawls in replace of Fitz Toussaint, and Michigan with not much to show the Buckeyes in the running game from the backfield. Not a lot to worry about there, but on the outside, Roy Roundtree and Jeremy Gallen present a big challenge for Ohio State's secondary, both averaging about 19 yards per carry, and you may have seen the catch that Roy Roundtree made late in the game to pull out that game against Northwestern and send that game into overtime. He's a pretty good wideout with big play capabilities. Greg Madison's Michigan defense is so much improved over 2 years ago. Of course, they broke out last season, and Madison showed his worth right out of the gate. He's got the Wolverines at 17th in the country, points against, and they haven't had a bad game. Even the Michigan game was not on the defense, unless you look at the Northwestern game. And what's interesting about that one is the Wildcats put up 31 against Michigan, and they've got mobile quarterbacks, much like Braxton Miller. Miller with a great season, carrying the Ohio State offense, but a marginal game last week at Madison against Wisconsin as the Buckeyes could total just 236 yards of offense. I like Carlos Hyde running the football. Man, he is a load between the tackles, and he's got a burst, and he refuses to go down. He missed 2.5 games, and he still got 16 touchdowns. He only had 15 touches last week against Wisconsin, including the game winner in overtime. Urban Meyer commented after the game that we've got to get Carlos Hyde the football more. When Braxton Miller throws it, he goes downfield to Devin Smith for the big plays, who's got 6 TD receptions and 19 yards per catch, and underneath to Philly Brown, who leads the Buckeyes with 48 catches. Ohio State's defense inexplicably struggled mid-season. They got ripped up by Nebraska and Indiana and Purdue for big plays and tons of yardage. but they have tightened things up in recent weeks with big Jonathan Hankins anchoring the front. John Simon had 4 sacks against Wisconsin. Bradley Roby leads the nation in pass breakups, but we really love Ryan Shazier and the huge play he made against Wisconsin. That's a microcosm of what he brings this Buckeye defense. Big play capability, enforcing turnovers, and making plays sideline to sideline. This should be a really good football game, but a few things working against the Wolverines. On the road, with a lack of a big play threat at running back, and Ohio State's defense coming into its own, will be able to make enough plays. And Braxton Miller as well, with Carlos Hyde providing that running threat from the backfield, and Ohio State wins a good one over Michigan. Call it Buckeyes 27, Wolverines 20. Now we need to hear from you and your opinion on the Buckeyes and the Wolverines here on Mark Rogers TV.